And joining us now, South Carolina Republican Senator Tim Scott. Thank you again, Senator, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Good to be back with you, Lindsay.
So first, I have to get your reaction today. Of course, the three other officers at the scene of George Floyd's death, they were charged, and Derek Chauvin's murder charge was upgraded. It's been 9 days since Floyd died. Do you think that these charges took too long, and will they help start a healing process?
I think they did take too long. I think it does help with the healing process. I think Terrence said it very well when he was asking for calm and peace so that we could focus really on his brother's death. The family has been clear and consistent that they want these 4 officers held accountable. That is the right thing to do. I am glad to see Attorney General Ellison bringing the other 3 in and upgrading the charge on the first.
In an interview with Newsmax tonight, when asked if the country needs him to express comfort in healing, President Trump said right now the country needs law and order. Do you agree with the president?
Well, we certainly need order without any question, but we also need healing. We definitely need, and I think the president's comments early in the Rose Garden really spoke to the fact that we need justice, law and order. In other words, justice for the Floyd family, justice for George Floyd. We also want to have a country that starts the process of reflection, understanding, appreciating why we're here again. It's one of the aspects of this process that is so important that we dig a little deeper in our souls and understand really not just a single incident, not a single event, but the decades of events, which will help us really heal. Without that understanding and appreciation, it's going to be very hard for the American family to come together in a one unified fashion.
Yeah, you talk about the need to heal, the need for the family to come together. Would you say that President Trump has done enough as far as playing the role of healer in chief and helping as we're, I guess, all looking for a uniter in chief in a way?
Well, I'm sure some will disagree with my comments. I think the president has made strides in the last several days in that direction. I am thankful for the fact that he has been leaning into the need for justice for the Floyd family. His comments about not only the first officer, but in our conversation on Saturday, the other 3 officers is the kind of stuff that we want to hear, as a kind of confidence I want to hear from the president. I heard it, and I think we're now seeing more meat on the bones. I hope that we continue to see that. But you'll never please everybody in such a partisan environment. I think the best focus is on the family first, which leads to justice and then leads to a greater conversation with the American people about our way forward.
Just a few hours ago, former President Obama participated in a virtual roundtable on police reforms, and in it he said, as activists and everyday citizens raise their voices, we need to be clear about where change is going to happen and how we can bring about that change. How, in your estimation, should young people bring about change, and how can you personally help in that process, Senator?
Well, Lindsay, I think young people can continue to be a part of the process. The protest, the nonviolent protest, I've said it before, it's like through the artery of John Lewis. The image of John Lewis harkens back to my mind serving with him in Congress when I first got here, walking through his office to understand his personal journey, his personal tragedy of making it easier for a man like me to be elected United States Senator in South Carolina, number one. Number two, there are several steps forward that I've talked to even this morning with the White House about. We have the Walter Scott notification bill that focuses national attention on police-related shootings. We're working on a George Floyd notification bill that then says not only shootings, but let's go a step further, understand when a suspect is in the custody of the police department and they pass away, they die. We want to know all the circumstances. And then we have 2 other pieces as well. But I go further than that. I think it's important for us to take a look in communities of color and in the distressed communities and make sure that we're offering the type of future that we have in the most affluent zip codes, which requires workforce development. It requires a focus on broadband in the poorest areas of this country. So we talked through these steps this morning, and I'm hopeful that we'll see some of this manifest in policy positions supported by the White House.
And also, I do have to ask you about Lafayette Park. Tonight, former Secretary of Defense James Mattis is out with a rare statement saying, in part, we know that we are better than the abuse of executive authority that we witnessed in Lafayette Park. Do you agree with Mattis? Was the clearing out of peaceful protesters for a photo op an abuse of executive authority?
Well, I think the facts, I don't know. I think with the president's comments that he had no idea what was happening in the park before he got there, I think that is a factual statement. I do believe that he did not know what happened. I think he went into the park with the expectation that he could do something that provided some calm and peace, and it just turned out pretty bad.
Your colleague, Senator Rand Paul, said today he is holding up the anti-lynching bill passed by the House in February, and the House has not taken up a similar bill passed by the Senate last year. Everyone agrees that lynching must be condemned and outlawed, so why the holdup?
Well, I think a better question is not to single out Rand Paul, though I would love for Rand Paul to move on the legislation. But the fact of the matter is I've led the charge to get it passed in the Senate twice. The bill is exactly the same bill with one or two exceptions. The House wanted to rename it, and that's one of the reasons why we're stuck here. We could have that done tomorrow if the House would pass literally the same language, save one part of it to include the title. That could be done for the American people, another tool in the toolbox to confront racism and injustice.
And let's talk solutions now. You proposed a bill just today with your colleagues in the Senate that would require police departments receiving federal funding to release data on officer-involved shootings. You also said that that's just the first bill. What's next? And also, do you plan to partner with colleagues on the other side of the aisle? I mean, for many Americans, unity from an often bitterly divided Congress, that would be a powerful message at this time.
Well, I'll say, Lindsay, that my opportunity zone legislation that is now law, my partner was Cory Booker. Cory and I spoke last night for nearly an hour on steps forward. We're going to focus on the areas that we have in common, and we may have separate pieces of legislation that addresses different issues, but there are a couple pieces. Police reporting is a part of it. The FBI is already getting some of the information, but I want to make it mandatory. I want to do that in multiple ways: police shootings, use of force, excessive use of force. These are pieces of the puzzle that I think will get agreement on both sides of the aisle. The question is, the devil's in the details. So I want to make it simple, digestible, and done.
Senator Tim Scott, always appreciate hearing your voice. Thanks so much for your time.
Yes, ma'am. You have a good night.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.